I think there has definitely been a concerted effort on the Burmese authorities' part to try and convey that Burma has reached some sort of watershed. Last year we saw elections, the first in 2 decades in Burma. And we also saw the release of perhaps the most famous Burmese person, Aung San Suu Kyi, who is the leader of the opposition party in Burma. Now, she had been under house arrest for 15 of the previous 20 years. So this was a big move and something that the authorities were trying to cast as a big change and a big step forward, a turning point for Burma. Since then, we've seen a number of other measures which have been designed to show the world in a rather dramatic fashion that Burma has changed and that they're a democratic nation now where human rights are valued. However, Amnesty and a lot of our contacts on the ground in Burma and people that we speak to within Burma have told us that a lot of this is lip service. It's not actually about actual reform and moves towards a democratic country, but it's actually about giving that impression and casting off that impression that the world had about Burma as a very repressive place, which it continues to be actually.
Do you think that Burma will ever be democratic?
I have spoken to a lot of people, a lot of Burmese people, about how they feel about the change of government. And one of the things that's recurringly said to me is that this is the same military junta government, just without the uniforms. That this is basically the same people who had the power in the past as members of the military, now sitting in the government and basically carrying out the same or similar methods of keeping that power. So we knew that before the election even took place, 25% of the seats were reserved for the military. And then thereafter, it was very difficult in fact, it was made impossible for anyone else to win apart from the party which was endorsed by the military. And we know that in an election in the 90s where Aung San Suu Kyi won, that was just it was disregarded. She was never allowed to take that power, even though she had an overwhelming majority of support of the people of Burma.
What can the international community do to encourage Burma to become more democratic?
It's difficult, I think. One of the things that Amnesty is pushing for is for the close neighbours, so the members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which are Burma's immediate neighbours, to put those pressures on Burma to respect human rights, to have free and fair elections where they're accountable and where monitors are allowed in to look at the election process and at how people are able to cast their votes, and to make sure that people are allowed to actually make those decisions freely and fairly, which hasn't been happening. Still some sanctions in place, but more than that, there needs to be one voice really from the international community so that you're not getting fragmented criticisms and then other bits of praise. There needs to be one voice of this is what needs to be done, this is a time frame which is reasonable, and the world is watching.
Okay, and is there anything else you want to add about Amnesty International's work there?
Obviously, Burma is quite a difficult country for us to work in. However, we've got extensive networks of people that we hear from and work with. Last year we did a radio programme where we covertly delivered undercover a load of radios from Thailand into particularly rural areas of Burma where people weren't able to access things, such as the BBC World Service, Burmese arm of that. And those sorts of things really enable people to know more about what the world's thinking, and they cut through that censorship. And I think that's terribly important. We're hoping to deliver more of those in the future. And really, I think, whilst we welcome, obviously, as Aung San Suu Kyi herself said, we welcome every prisoner, every release is precious. This is really not an amnesty, this one that we saw last week, which in any way sets the government apart from its military predecessors, which is a shame.